But back on the page I'm supposed to be on now. All right, so this is the fallopian tube. This this little tubes right here. These right here, these are the fallopian tubes. And this one right here, these are the fallopian tubes. So they lead into the body of the uterus, which is right here. Okay. So the body of uterus, the egg will implant itself somewhere on the edge here, and then they develop, and then they swell this entire sac up, balloons up to like maybe 2, 3, or 4 times its normal size. So it's like that big. And then after a while, the head tries to force its way through here and then come out through the vagina and birth. Okay. All right. So now that we've gotten an idea of what the fallopian tube is and what the uterus and the process of birthing is, now we're going to talk about the different types of birth. So you can have a surgical birth or a cesarean section when they open up the uterus or the body up. Instead of going through the vagina, the baby is exhumed or removed from the belly or cavity. So there's a laparotomy of some kind. They open, they gain access into the uterus, and they remove the baby, and they clip the umbilical cords and separate it from the mother. Now, all this time, the baby is not separated from the mother. So the baby or the zygote or the embryo is still connected to the mother physically. But once you open it and you bring the baby out, it is a baby. Or zygote out, it's a baby. And then you can now go ahead and clip the umbilical cord. Sometimes there's a reason for this. It could be that the baby is in breech presentation. B-R-E-E-C-H. Breech presentation. That means the baby is either upside down in the uterus. So normally a baby, or if zygote, when we are about to give birth, when the baby is fully formed, ready to come out, or about to be expelled, or during miscarriages, the head usually is pointed head down. Okay, so the head of the baby is pointed down towards the ground because the head has to come out first, and then the body kind of wiggles out underneath, because the head is the largest part of a baby usually, and the head and the shoulders are usually about the largest part of a little born baby. You know, the baby, like most of the weight is on the head, the legs are kind of these tiny little wiggly things. Now, in other cases, in a bad case such as a breech presentation, the baby or the zygote is rotated either 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or some way away from the normal line of expulsion. Okay. And what happens is when you now try to have a baby in that position, you could have the legs bend all the way to their faces, and then like the hands stretch all the way like this, and the baby comes out and the legs are broken and deformed. It's completely traumatic to both parties, mother and zygote and baby. Okay. And a very big information that I want to pass on with this situation is that you could have a lot of issues. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know if everybody is live with me. I don't know who else is on the line with me. So please, I'm going to ask questions in the audience. Hello. Question from me is, what is a fallopian tube? Question mark. All right. So you guys should go ahead and answer that question in the chat. Let me know if you guys like it. And something's wrong with my camera for some reason. It froze there for a second. All right. So if you guys are liking what you are seeing, I want you to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, because this allows me to know that you guys enjoy this and you like seeing it every week, and it allows the algorithm to actually know that this guy is doing his job and is doing it well. So if you guys like what you're seeing, go ahead and give us a like. As you can see, the internet likes what you're seeing, and they give us a explosion. I want to let's give us a like. Can you give us a like? Give us a, there we go. We got a like over here. Eh? Cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining me. As I said, I'm waiting for my guests. Where are they? I'm gonna give him a call now. Gonna give them a call. Why are they wasting time? Listen. They are busy, they know they peak. They are busy, maybe they know they peak. Why they busy? Why they know they peak? Why is everybody so busy this morning? Oh, there we go.
Let's spice things up a bit.
Hi, Lisa. Good morning. How are you doing? I'm excellent. Thanks for asking. How's your day going? Great, great. Do you want to join us for a couple of minutes, talk about birth? Do you have the time? Now? 10 minutes? Sure, definitely. Of course. Thank you, kindly. Awesome. So she said 10 minutes, so we'll wait for her to join us. We appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. Yes. So hopefully the other people that are there live with us can join us shortly. I know these things, the thing about creating a podcast is finding the exact time to link everybody up together because everybody is busy. You wouldn't realize it until you actually need to do something. Who has planned an event before, like a trip? You know how chaotic that can be, right? It's the exact same way when you're trying to make a podcast. Yeah? You have to like link things together, like okay, at this time this person is doing this, at this time this person is doing that, and then try to link both of them together. It's chaos sometimes, honestly. All right, let me see what is going on with this camera. Put that one over there, like so. Maybe I can come like that. All right. So we are making good time. We are talking about breath, and hopefully the experts will come and join us very soon. From the little knowledge that I know I've shared some things with you that you guys probably didn't have not heard of in a while, and or maybe if you've heard of it, you just haven't thought about it in a while. Correct? Yeah. So my goal with this podcast is to make sure that I give you the most knowledge that I can, as much as I can. Right? So I don't know why these things keep. Maybe I need to step back a bit. Is my angle bad? It's not. Someone needs to see the screen more than me. Okay. There we go. So we're still in setup mode. One day we'll be fully set up. All right, so that's not too bad. My head is about the same height away from each other. So, see, what we are doing is that we are making all these things possible so that we can do a great live stream and podcast for each and every one of you, so that you guys can learn. You can know what it is, what it means to have knowledge. I'm not saying I have all the knowledge. Okay, I just was locked in the library for too long, and then I happened to just find interest in reading the books, and then they decided to stay in my head. And I'm like, it's jumping around inside here. I might as well let you guys know a little bit of it. Okay, I have vast knowledge in a bunch of things that I don't know why I have a vast knowledge in them, but it happens that I do, and I am glad to share it with you. And all right, cool. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to answer in the chat, what is a fallopian tube? That is the question for today. For those that don't know, fallopian tube is write the answer here. Okay. Thank you very much. I know that they're going to clip this someday in internet, so it's always good to have a great angle. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm waiting for my guests to arrive. I'm going to continue presenting. For the meantime, we've learned about fallopian tubes. These are the tubes that, send the eggs or the oocytes from the ovaries to the uterus, also called an oviduct or a viaduct. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Or a fallopian tube. Sorry, did I say viaduct? And a fallopian tube. All right. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about different types of birth. Okay. Oops. What did I do? Different types of birth and go. So different types of birth. There are 7 childbirth delivery methods. Okay, according to medical.net or medicine.net. Childbirth. Delivery option includes natural, unassisted childbirth, assisted childbirth, and delivery by cesarean section. These are regular childbirth. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, so there are three types. So there's the unassisted, there's the assisted, and then the delivery by cesarean section or cesarean surgery. So there is a unassisted, that is the mother is doing all the work, only her. Then there's the assisted, mother is doing some of the work. And then there's the cesarean section where mother is doing probably none of the work. Okay. All right. So vaginal births without medication can be less painful and smoother if the mother and partner learn breathing techniques. Oh, wow, I didn't know. So breathing can actually control the pain threshold and levels. That is something I actually know. I'm just saying I didn't know. That's right. It's good drama. But yes, breathing techniques can help you to control your pain threshold and other strategies in birthing class. Lamaze method or Bradley method are two common childbirth classes. Okay. Okay. So where are we at now? Oh, this one that's been presented. So copy this, Control C. It's an Apple, so it's Command C. I'm going to do a class on all of these things where I talk about, a host of things that how to use just basic phones and internet. And that's going to be part of my OBS masterclass. We're going to learn how to use an iPhone, how to use an iPad, how to use a mouse, how to use a computer, how to turn on a computer. We're going to start from scratch. I'm telling you, from back scratch. Okay. So I'll just treat you like you don't know how to use the internet, and boom, make it happen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you kindly. All right. So 7 child delivery methods. Yes, as I was showing you, like whenever I click on a link, it opens up in another page. It's very weird. It's supposed to open up on that same page, but because it opens up on another page, it doesn't let me stream that, and I don't want to share my entire screen right now because of the information I have on it. But ladies and gentlemen, 7 childbirth mechanisms, as I was telling you, they are, they are different. The benefits range from left to right all the way. Oh, so we got our guests joining us. I'm very glad that they've joined us. Testing. Can you hear me? Testing. Can you hear me? I don't know what's going on with the network. All right. There is our guest. Let's see if we can have you come on the show. I'm gonna stop presenting for a second. All right. Testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
We are live.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Hello. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you? I'm actually busy though.
Oh yeah, I can see you're a very busy man, my G. Thank you for taking out a few minutes of your time to talk to us. This is really appreciated. I really do appreciate it. Yes. Let me see. Yes, perfect. I'm gonna put you in the middle so we'll talk and we'll see what this is about. So, sir, thank you. Could you please humbly introduce yourself? I'll start first, and you let me know who you are, what brings you to the podcast, and let me know what it is that makes you an expert in this topic, which is birth. Okay, my name is Prince Dr. Chukwemeka Edward Atede Anyanguna Waroha, one of Abugo. Your friends, my friends, they call me Eddy4Shot, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Hello, boys. How you guys doing? Good to have you. So right now you can see Mr. T is feeding his beautiful, adorable triplets. 1, 2, 3 at the same time. Triplets, not twins. Triplets. That's why it's called the OG. The OGT. Yes. So the boys, as they are watching their show, I want T to let us know what is it that you know about birth and childbirth. What is your experience so far about childbirth? For those that don't know, Tony is a father of 3 handsome boys. I'm very sure he wasn't expecting it to be 3, but he was probably expecting a handsome, bouncing baby boy, and then voila, 3 of them showed up. Now, coming from a family of 3 boys myself, I'm the first of 3 boys. I can relate to him, so I would like him to please introduce himself. Tell us. I know he's busy right now. He's talking with the boys and trying to feed them. Well, let him take a little few minutes and let us know what it is that he can share with us.
Well, I'm Mr. Anthony, father of triplets. On the childbirth aspect, I can't really say much. I think that's a woman idea of the story or perspective. Obviously, I could give experience being a dad or what I'm seeing. We play both roles, but on the bedside, obviously my partner, my wife is very busy, so she's not here. So I think women should basically explain or talk more about the bedside. Because me, my brother, man, I don't even know. I can't say anything there.
I feel you.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. It's a different experience. So like, you'd say that the woman will be more knowledgeable on that experience. Okay, from your side, right? Can you tell me what your experience was on the delivery day, for example? Were you available for the delivery?
No, I wasn't available. So it was more like a video call, and I had pictures when he came out. Obviously, I was dazed, amazing, speechless. More like acting after my wife. Obviously, they're showing you babies back to back. But big experience. You have a shock of your life. You're traumatized. You're having flashbacks, thinking.
That's
not
true.
being there. Not being there is the most difficult thing, because mentally, psychologically, you're gone. You know what I mean?
I get you. Definitely. I get you.
Yeah. So,
Not being there kind of played a big role for you, right?
yeah, man. But like daily activity, this is me daily. You know what I mean? There's no there's no man role or woman role. You just need to fix it.
That's true. That's what you guys. I love the fact that you guys work hand in hand together, making sure that this is achieved in as best as possible way that you can make it happen. And you guys are literally blazing through. You're a role model for most women, I must say, and family and couples, knowing that you guys are doing your best with 3 boys who are rowdy, they are growing, they are learning, they are probably as chaotic as one can expect. What has it been? What's the biggest change you've noticed since birth till now?
You don't have your life anymore. It's more like for the kids. There's no life anymore for you. Just give up. You know what I mean? Let's be very
Yes,
realistic.
sir.
The kids come
Your
first.
life becomes for
Anything.
them.
Huh? Even
Your
anything,
life
anything
becomes
that's
for
running
them.
ahead is for the kids first. Like, know you. Forget you. With our friendship, you should know now. Even when I come to visit you or do stuff for you should know how I
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's not like that anymore. I agree. Babies are here. You gotta take care of them. You have to be thinking. You'll be like, oh, have these babies eating? Or they probably woken up right now.
For those people, for those people, like, oh, it's nice. Oh, you had your. I would love to be in your shoes to have my baby once.
Yes.
I hope you have the money and you have the mindset to have your baby once, so not just.
Please tell them about the milk. Tell them, yes. Speaking of about if they're ready, you tell them about the milk, please. 3 boys.
I want to have my baby once. You can't do it. It's not easy. Real talk.
Real talk, man. Can you tell them about the milk, please?
Milk.
Yes.
You mean presently or diaper change? Which one is the milk?
Okay, the difference between when they were first born till now. Okay, now they're obviously eating different foods, right? So it's not like just
anything you eat, they eat. They're eating my food, breakfast. You have an idea. You understand what I mean? That's how.
Yes, sir. They're eating your food right now. So okay, the fact that they're eating your meal right now, my question is, the milk that you are able to use, like the comparison, how much milk did you use per day for these kids?
I think that was when they were about 8 months, 7 months. They were taking a can a day, 1 can a day.
1 can of milk a day.
A day, and that was like $21.
$21 can of milk a day, finished. Multiply that per week, multiply that per month, multiply that by 3.
1 can a day for 3 of them when they were about 7 months.
Okay. Wow, but that's still a lot. That's still a lot of this.
Yeah, $21.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's really impressive the fact that all of these amount of how would I say milk was used.
Now, diaper, yeah. Because those boys eat. Diaper of 127, it stays about week. Like 5 days. 127 diapers. Those boys, what they eat, come on, man. No, guys, you're not gonna leave the diaper on them as soon as they. I mean, come on,
I've seen it full. You have to change it. You have to clean it. There's nothing like napkin. You go and wash it and
if they
clean it.
boo, that's how bad. If they, I'm even trying to start potty training because they are three and it's a lot. If they boo, they
Yeah,
come, like, come and,
three
is
times
that
the
that kind
work
of
and 3 times, and they poop throughout the day. That's all your day. You said you are potty training them already. Hi, Bobby.
about on the oh no.
Is that you?
If you don't,
Yep, I see the chaos.
you don't see I'm now, see what I'm going through.
Wow, it's amazing. I would love to talk to Lisa. I know you're busy right now taking care of them. Let her tell me her experience with childbirth. Like, that is the topic of the day.
She says it's traumatizing. She doesn't want to get into it, basically.
Oh, poor lady. I
You know
can
what I mean?
imagine.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.
You
Yes,
know how
sir.
now watches like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not for you.
That's how you're not getting into that. Okay. Well, since we're on the topic of birthing, now let's switch topic from human beings to other things, right? Um, this week was we got our guest joined in. Give me 1 second. We have another guest on the show. Let me pull her in. Give me 1 second. I cannot hear you yet, but give me one listen. Add to stage. All right. Hello, testing. Lisa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us on the Flight on the Wall podcast. Allow me to
Mhm.
reintroduce myself. My name is Prince Dr. Chukwemeka Edward Ateda. Nyawuna Waro Hawan of Abugo. For your friends, my friends, they call me Eddy4Shot. And please, could you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. What brings you on the podcast today? What makes you an expert in birthing?
My name is Lisa. I'm on the podcast today to talk about birth. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I would just say I have experience on birth, on the topic of birth.
Okay. So
Mhm.
please go right ahead.
So, what's the question? What is the question about? Because birth is such a broad topic. So, what is the
It's a
question about birth?
magnificently broad topic. I can do this over and over every
Mhm.
week, just talking about it for sure. But from my own point of view, I guess we are starting about births, like when you are in labor, you are in tears,
Mhm.
and it happens. The time
Mhm.
between, okay, we can say, between your fifth month and your ninth month, and then
Mhm.
after birth, like 2 months after that, in between that time span of 7 to 9 months, how was
Mhm.
that for you?
So I had a different experience than a lot of women because I carried more than one baby at once. I
Mm,
carried three babies at once. So typically with triplets, you don't go to full term. America won't allow you to do that. That the longest you can carry triplets for is maybe anywhere from 34 to 36 weeks. They usually don't let you go past 34. I had my boys at 34 weeks. Um,
mm.
so actually I would say from like 6 months, my 6 month, it was very difficult to do anything because my belly was very huge, my back was very painful. I couldn't put on my shoes, I couldn't put on like lotion. I needed assistance with bathing, which my parents were very they assisted me through that. I was on bed rest, so I couldn't go out and do too much.
Sorry.
Um yeah, I was on bed rest, so I couldn't go out and do too much. And yeah, but it was that was tough. And then you get to delivery day. I had a cesarean section, which was unexpected. I mean, I knew I was going to have a C-section. I just didn't know when I was going to have a C-section. Because again, with multiple births, specifically triplet births, from like 27 weeks, you go to the hospital every week. Because from that point on, you can have the children at any day, So at
Wow.
my 34-week appointment, when I went to the doctors, the doctor told me that they had to, deliver the boys the next day or the same day, I'm sorry, because they were too big, and there was the issue of the boys breathing. Each of the boys came because triplets are typically born at maybe like 1 or 2 pounds. My boys
Mm.
were over 5 pounds each. So
Whoa, just they're like full-term birds,
yeah, it was
basically.
like they came out like full term, pretty much, yeah.
That
um so there was not enough room. The issue of the kids, maybe not breathing well, so they brought them out, and as an emergency C-section. So I didn't really, and also I didn't even know when I was going to the hospital that I was having contractions because I didn't feel any pain. So
See.
sometimes people associate contractions with pain, and that does happen for a lot of women, but not every woman experiences pain through, from contractions. That's why you see some women, the water just break and they just had it because they didn't even know they were contracting the whole time. So when I went to hospital, I was contracting already. All the boys were head down. They were ready to literally, come out. But we did a C-section, which was scary. Again, because I had triplets, there was a lot of people in the room. Typically, I think for a normal birth, maybe there's maybe three, maybe five people in the room, like doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
For me, there were 17 people in that room.
17.
Each child had their own team of nurses. I had
Whoa.
two anesthesiologists in there. I had four surgeons in there. The
What?
hospital where I gave birth to my kids, they hadn't had triplets in years. They had a lot of twins. We were the first triplet,
Wow.
we were first natural triplet birth in years because I didn't do any IVF. I didn't do anything
Yeah.
special. They came
No, did
naturally.
you get epidural or anything like that?
Yes, I had to get epidural, which is a very
Okay.
painful needle that they
It
put in
is.
your spine. I think your spinal cord or your back.
Yes. Yes. It goes through
Very.
your back into your spinal cord and they
Yeah, you
inject
have to
you.
stay extremely still, but there's also a nurse there to hold you so you stay still because if you move, it will
It's mess.
affect you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can affect you walking, honestly.
Yes.
Um, so walking into the room, seeing all those people was so intimidating. I started crying because I wasn't crying before.
Aw.
I was so scared. I actually told them I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go home. I told them that I wanted to go home. I was there with my mom. I told them I
Go
wasn't
home with
gonna. I know. I was so scared. I'm like, why are all these people here? Even though they try to brace me that there'll be a lot of people in the room, I was so very, very scared.
I
But they
can
were very
imagine.
helpful. They were very nice. They actually started playing music. They were telling me that, it's the boys' birthday party. It's time for their birthday party. Let's, welcome to the birthday party. They're
Yeah,
trying to get me,
welcome to
to
their
be
birthday party.
calm and not scared, even though I very much was.
That is very cute.
Um, they all came out. They all came out in under 4 minutes. They're not even up to a minute apart. Honestly, the surgeon was amazing. It was a black
Is
woman.
beautiful. A
They
black
came
woman
out,
too?
yeah, a black woman surgeon. Most of my team of doctors and nurses were black women because I trust that black women understand the black experience and will not. And I feel like that's why I had a very successful pregnancy, regardless of like the pain of carrying triplets. My main a parentiologist, a parentologist, a doctor that specializes in high risk pregnancy was a black woman. She's from Ethiopia.
Oh wow.
The woman that did all my ultrasounds, another black. Everybody on my team was a black woman, and it wasn't even done on purpose. It just happened to all
It
be
just happened to happen
a
that the
black
universe
woman.
aligned
Yeah.
for you to have a black woman do.
So
Okay,
yeah.
do you
So that
think?
that I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I'm sorry to cut your chain of thought. I just
Mm,
wanted to ask this question. Do you think
mm,
you start because you made a mention that a
mm.
black woman being there kind of made the surgery? Do you think that there's a discrepancy of white women
Yes,
understanding or white
100%.
people understanding?
Yes, because the one time I had a doctor's appointment with a white doctor, because my doctor was out, so she brought another doctor in to do like an ultrasound. And there's two instances where I had issues with black white doctors, but one was she was doing like I think an ultrasound on my body, but she moved my body so roughly and I screamed. Sometimes I feel like black white people don't realize that black people are not like I'm not a machine. I'm a human being. She was so rough. She apologized for it, but that was the last time I ever saw her. I'm like, this woman doesn't even get it. Like I'm carrying three children. Why are you moving me like that? And then the
Mm-hmm.
second time was when I was 32 weeks pregnant, and they wanted to actually do the C-section at 32 weeks because they couldn't see one of the babies. So when I
Hmm.
went there, mind you, this is an emergency. I've been sent to the hospital. I was in the waiting room for hours. When I got
Hours.
to the back, I saw a team of white nurses, and I cussed them out. I said, I came here on an emergency basis. I am carrying three children. You had me sitting in that waiting room for hours. I told them if anything happens to me or my children, every single last one of you guys should be held responsible. I said that loud enough for other patients to hear. I said that loud enough for whatever cameras in there for them to hear, because you're going to be held responsible for whatever happens to me and these kids. I did not come here on my own free will. I came here in an emergency, you know? So after that,
Hmm.
I just happened to
Very
have
unique.
only black doctors, but yeah, so they were born under 4 minutes. Another thing that happens to women when they're pregnant, sometimes they tend to have fibroids. And I had a fibroid, literally the doctor said the size of a grapefruit. But she removed it after after she delivered the boy. She also removed the fibroid as well, which was very kind of her. to do. She
That's
didn't tell
very
me
nice.
she did it though. She told me the next day. She came and told me the
That
next day
she
that she
like,
did
oh yeah,
it.
by the way, we took out a fibroid
That's
from you.
literally how she said it. Oh yeah, by the way. Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
said, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. By the way, she like I said, oh thank you,
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all
But
we
that,
can
that
say.
that was it. When you have a C-section, it's a little, the pain afterwards. It takes time for you to heal. It's hard to walk. Very
Oh,
difficult to
really?
walk.
Is it because of the
Yes.
epidural that is hard to walk or the
No,
birthing process?
because of where the incision of the C-section. They cut through all seven, I think 7 layers of your skin. So it's
Yes,
very
it,
difficult to walk. It's very difficult to like, lift your leg up.
that's true
Um,
because all the muscles that normally control
yes,
the action of
extremely
moving your
weak.
body,
Yeah.
they work
Mm-hmm.
together with your abs, and now they are
Mm-hmm.
weakened, and they
Very
already have a
weak.
splash in between them.
Yeah, very, very weak.
So
So
walking was a problem. What else happened?
yes.
What was the experience? Go ahead, please.
I stayed in the hospital for a week before I went home
That's
just to
not
make
too
sure that I was
bad
okay. Yeah.
comparatively. Yeah, yeah. For of course, you have three babies. They want to
Mm-hmm.
watch you for as long as possible. Make sure that you are
Mm-hmm.
good. Oh yeah, no, that's actually not bad. So I've heard
Mm-hmm.
in some instances, some women have been in hospital for at least weeks, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks at the point after
Yeah.
birth, and this was after
Mm-hmm.
a normal session. So because they had
Mm-hmm.
like blood pressure issues or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
go
I didn't
ahead.
have any blood pressure issues actually throughout my pregnancy. I never had high
Oh,
blood pressure. I never had preeclampsia. I never had
really?
any
No
of those
gestational
things.
diabetes, nothing.
No gestational diabetes, no nothing. I had a very healthy triplet pregnancy. Again, the hardest part was the weight of carrying very heavy children.
Yes, and your
And
body had to
yeah.
compensate for that, correct?
Yes.
Because
So yes,
once
so they
once
put
you
me on
do,
medication for my heart because my heart would have to pump more
oh,
blood than it typically pumps, because of
right. See, these
the
are things
kids.
that you won't think about if you're having a baby. Because now you have one baby. Normally, if you have one baby, you don't have to think about that, or maybe even if you have to do, you just like increase your heart rate. But then you have three, so that's three separate hearts apart from your heart that your heart
Yeah.
has to feed.
Yeah, it pumps too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we have our next guest joining us, Dr.
Mhm.
Choma Oru. Let me add her to the stage. Welcome
Mhm.
to the show. My name is Prince Dr. Chukwemeka Edward Atede. Anyawuna Waro Hawan of Apugo. But my friends call me Eddy4Shot's. It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Choma Oru. Please, could you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. Let's know if we can make this podcast an eventful one. And Miss Lisa, we'll get back to you in a second. I apologize.
Okay.
Oh wait,
She's
I can't
on
hear
me.
you. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes, sorry.
Awesome. I can hear you now.
Yeah, hi Lisa. I heard a little bit of your story. I look forward to
Mhm.
hearing more. I'm Choma Oru, Dr. Chiborn Free. As you can see, that's how you can find
Mhm.
me on any social media. I'm a political scientist.
Mhm.
That's what my doctorate is in, but I'm also a postpartum doula, and
Mhm.
I support families navigating health and
Mhm.
education systems. That is
Okay.
my public policy
Mhm.
commitment.
Mhm. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. So please, we'll get back to you, Miss Dr. Miss Dr. Oru. Forgive me. I'm
Mhm.
just yeah. I'll get back
Mhm.
to you in a second. Let's
You just
Lisa
call me
continue her
Shoya.
train
Just call me
of
Shoya.
Chava. Yes, Chava. We'll get back to
Mhm.
you, Chava. I want to be. I want to be respectful. Okay. Give you accolades. You work for your postdoc. And it's definitely important. Yes. Yes, Choma and Lisa. I would like you
Mhm.
to continue. Tell us a little bit more about your story. I know Choma is just joining us. She probably didn't hear
Mhm.
the first part of it. If there's anything you want to touch back on, of course, you can go and watch it again, watch the podcast and see what happened. But if there's anything you want to touch back on and continue your story, don't let's not break your line of concentration and thoughts.
Oh no. I guess my next part of my story was going to talk about the whole postpartum experience. I think that
Perfect.
childbirth is hard. I think that carrying a child and pregnancy is hard, but I don't think people place enough emphasis on how difficult postpartum is. I
Mm,
remember when I was carrying my children, my doctor was very concerned about my postpartum experience. And I didn't understand why, because I feel like maybe it's social media that has people looking at postpartum like it's a walk in the park. So I wasn't sure why she was so concerned about me, especially mentally, on how I would cope with, triplets. I didn't get it, And then honestly, after the first week of them being home, I saw why she was afraid, honestly, and very, very concerned about how postpartum would be for me. And again, social media has this idea where postpartum lasts maybe 6 weeks or a month or two, But the
I've
reality
heard
of
that.
it typically lasts years. It takes a long time for a woman to come back to even thinking maybe half of what she was before she had a child. Because I went through postpartum depression. There was even a time where I went through postpartum psychosis. And I had never heard of what postpartum psychosis was until I was in the middle of postpartum psychosis. I had three children. They're crying all the time. They're up at all different times. I'm not sleeping. I literally was not sleeping. I had to stop breastfeeding because I couldn't, you breastfeed around the clock. So I had
Yeah,
to wake up to breastfeed. I had to stop it because I'm not resting. You're not
you're
resting. You're
not
not thinking
resting.
straight. So there was literally times where I didn't know the day of the week. I didn't know. I didn't. I
Wow.
remember one time I had to go to the hospital because I fainted, and the doctor asked me, "Do you know what year it is?" And it took me a while to really recall the year. The first year I said was the wrong year. So
Mm,
it's postpartum process is extremely dangerous, and I also see why it kills women because it distorts your thinking. It can even distort your reality, what you think is real and what you don't think it's real. There were times where my parents would literally come and take the children from me at night because your mind is distorted. You're not there. You're there, but you're not there. It's a. I thought pregnancy was hard. I even thought childbirth was hard. Well, postpartum was really a part. Even though I'm like 2 years in postpartum now, but postpartum was really a part of fighting for your life. You have to fight for your life, and we don't emphasize that enough. And I have friends now who are mothers now, new mothers, and they're going through very postpartum and in very dark places. And I'm trying to be there for them as much as I can because again, no one talks to us about this. So when we see it, it's a shock to be in a position where you don't feel like yourself, and now
yeah,
you have a baby you have to look after, and you
yeah.
don't even know how to even look after your own self.
And the baby is like crying all the time, and you're like, yo, I've never finished taking care of myself. I have to take care of
Exactly.
you,
Because they're
and
not
then
they don't they're babies. They can't think about that. They can't think
they
about you. They
can't.
can only think about themselves.
And they are very
And their
full of
immediate
themselves.
needs.
And they wake you up at odd hours of the day trying to get you to do things for them. Of course, it's like very
Mm,
interesting. And I would
mm,
like to use that opportunity to bring Dr. Chioma on the show
mm,
because she has a program where she does a live every now and then, and she
mm.
kind of educates women on things like this. Am I wrong in saying that? And we're actually working on something together to create a podcast, something like that. So this is a perfect timing to actually launch that. So go ahead, man. If you'd like to.
Yeah, no, so thank you again,
Mm,
Lisa, for being vulnerable and sharing
mm,
your story. I forgot to even say that I'm a mother too, right? I have
mm,
two brilliant sons. They are 11
mm,
and 13. So I
mhm,
will say this, that in terms of the mental health journey, it just switches up, and every stage you have to reset and adjust to the stage that your child is in. And that's part of why my commitment is to postpartum. I love birth doulas. I had a birth doula when I birthed both of my sons. I think they're amazing. I think they're critical. I had natural births. I don't know your actual birth journey and birth experience. I love learning people's birth stories, and and the diversity in what brings us to the birth work that whether it's the work of birthing from our own bodies or just the constant rebirthing that you have to do when you're a caregiver. And I think that's true for fathers as well, which is why I'm more interested in I consider it non-gendered, because I think part of what gives us so much stress is that it is heavily labored in a very limited framework on how we think about the role of a woman with a child. And all of that comes when we birth, when we're birthing, after we birth. And like you said, it's like grieving, right? Like, people are there for the funeral, people are there for you when there's this terrible moment, but then you're there by yourself in the aftermath. And I think birthing is the same kind of emotionality, where people can visibly see you're going through something when you're pregnant, and they can be, there's a lot going on inside of you and outside of you, but there's just also more awareness to that experience. But once you birth, it's kind of like you're on your own. Once you're out of that realm where it's just you going through a lot of things that are social, a lot of expectations of your body, a lot of expectations of your ability to perform in the market-driven world, and that, you know, shout out to Dr. Eddy. And so part of what we're working on is I'm working on a blog and podcast I'm calling Market Women Chronicles, and it's really also just looking at the marketplace and the market value of mothering. And mothering, again, I look at it from parenting period and caregiving period. I'm looking at how fathers impact the household, how mothers impact the household, and how the economy of that matters. And I think that at the source, at the root of a lot of these issues, which is why my foundation is political science, is that I look at how people are living their lives, right? Like there are a number of perinatal conditions. I'm glad you noted that it's not just postpartum depression. There are a category of psychoses that people go through. There's a number of pre-existing mental health conditions that get exacerbated by your mother work. And that, I think in 2024, these things are starting to come into focus because of COVID. And COVID has made mental health something that everybody kind of has to deal with. We've kind of gone through this collective trauma. We've kind of gone through this collective experience. And a lot of people birthed during COVID, and their experiences, my goodness, I look forward to watching the COVID babies grow. Your kids are too, so you had COVID babies too. I look forward to being in community with you. I mean, when you say you support other mothers, other people going through this journey, I think that's exactly what we have to do. My children are autistic, both of my sons, and so that also adds a different layer to the work that I do, and my level of understanding and my level of knowing that disproportionately the caregiver is under more undue stress if your child is coming through the NICU. And if you had triplets, your children most likely went through the NICU because they had to been born, a bit early to be able to sustain in your body. And that NICU experience gets so undervalued. I didn't have a NICU experience, but I am in community with many that do. And then for those that discover different conditions as the children age, as they go through the different developmental stages, those are also stress factors. Those also change your economic outlook. Those also change how you engage with child rearing and just the politics of mothering, what kind of school options you have, what kind of healthcare options you have, how you're going to survive is going to be dictated heavily by the health status of your child and yourself as the caregiver. So, that's my commitment. Like I said, I am a political scientist, so everything I do is really about how, not just the social determinants of health, but the political determinants of health. Right? Like how the politics of our time, and by that, I mean the policies that inform what we do and how we live and who are making these decisions. And knowing that, I'm heavy on democracy, right? And how we can make everything more democratic. And mothers are central to that. And I'm an Igbo woman, so I also bring in some of our, that Igbos have a very important indigenous understanding of mothers that I think can help the world, should they know it better, about how we function and why we say in Neka that mother is supreme. So
nice.
That's
Beautiful.
me.
Thank you so much for that marvelously elaborate explanation of what it is to be a mother, and basically all the gifts that comes with mothering and how to make mothering profitable. Because we have to make money somehow. If you have to. So you have to mute yourself, because this is not really like a monologue. It's
Yeah,
more
I
like
mute myself because I have background singers.
Oh, I have software to mute that out. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool. No
So
muting then.
I'll take care of that. Yeah. So you can keep so that we can hear. It's a discussion. It's an echo. So if I'm just hearing myself crack jokes and not hearing any laugh, it sounds weird. But yes, so I don't mind. And also hearing the kids in the background is a blessing. In any case, yeah, there are people that will probably join this online and just listen just for the kids. Okay, they don't want to hear anything about us talking about birthing or the pain of epidural or the stress of being an autistic mother. They don't want to hear all of that. They just want to hear their kids in the background and they are there and they are fine. That's all. So we work with that. I do appreciate each and every one of you for joining us and explaining, talking not to us about what it is birth as a whole. Miss Chioma, Dr. Chioma, I would like to use this opportunity to ask you about your birthing experience, but I'll give you some time to ruminate on that, and I'll try to paraphrase my own mother's way of birthing me. Okay. So once upon a time, I was born. Yes, I was this creature that was created, a marvelous amongst the heavens, and sent into my parents' life. And when I arrived, the whole world rejoiced because I was born. And yes, that's what the story that I was told. That's why they called me Chukwuemeka. Yes, God has done awesome, and they named me Anyawuna Waroha, the eye of the sun who watches over the earth. Why? Because they thought I was this epic being, and maybe I'm hopefully living up to the expectations. Talk about pressure from your family, you know.
I
So
know,
yes,
I know. Like, they had me on the computer and they're like, we want your attention, and just lifted my
yes.
glass.
You grab your glasses
Welcome to
and
the
wear.
world of
It's
autism.
perfectly. That is, people don't understand that. So I would love for you to please give us your perspective. You seem like a very avid lover of beauty and happiness and understanding. You can communicate your thought process. What has autism meant to you?
Autism is, I look at it that we all have different neural maps. We're all, created differently. Everybody is a unique brain map in neuroscience. So I think that there's some people that have, you know, so from a science, so there's the scientific level of how I experience it. There's the spiritual level of how I experience it, and I think on both levels they're really um, uh, I think why we see so many a prevalence of autism in this day and time is because I think the human body is changing, and it's changing because of technology. It's changing because we're inputting things that our ancestors didn't input. We're creating things, and our bodies and our sensory experiences are changing, and it's absolutely changing the birth process. One of the most important people that I think I came across when I was pregnant was Gabor Mate. He's a Jewish doctor from uh, Canada, I believe. I think he was like born during the Holocaust, but he focuses a lot on the mother and the mother's relationship to the child and how it informs like how people deal with traumas in their life, how they deal with addictions in their life, how they manage stress, what kind of hormonal distribution occurs. And it was really important to participate in lectures that he offered, and he's very popular on YouTube, so look up Gabor Mate. And this was even before I had my first child and before my child was born autistic, because I already knew that I had traumas. So again, part of my postpartum commitment is knowing that, like, wow, a lot of things come up for you when you're pregnant. A lot of things are going on in your body when you're pregnant. If you did not resolve, you know, what happened to you, whatever happened to you, is gonna come up when you're having a child, and when you have a child, and how you deal with that, how you manage that. And I think autism kind of is a product, unfortunately, of all of that reconciling happening in the body and how the body is engaging. And I'm not blaming mothers, and I don't think Gabor Mate blames mothers, but it is scientifically a fact that it is the in utero experience that first regulates a child's hormonal distribution, right? What they have access to, how high is their cortisol level, or how low are their endorphins, like what is their access to dopamine. These are the things that really determine what we're going to need when we come out in the world, and how we're going to survive in the world. And everything else we do, they say after the age of 3, is really just more of restoring, because by 3 years old, the mind's map is already kind of set, which is why, as a political scientist, I am very, very a strong advocate of getting yourself and your children evaluated and receiving early intervention services, because those are the things that I think Black and Brown families do not have easy access to, but are critical to have a winning edge in whatever it is. I think, something maybe not so controversial is that I think that we're all neurodivergent in different ways. I think that there is no normal. I don't think anyone is normal, or whatever we ascribe. Normal is a social concept, and it has nothing to do. It's like how many standard deviations from whoever set the norm is. And so autism kind of breaks the mold, because by the time this generation of 1 in 5 are adults, Gen Alpha and Gen Z really take over, everybody is going to be neurodivergent. Just looking at the numbers. So then the definition of normal is already shifting in our own lifetime. And even my journey in mothering my children, I've had to come to terms with my own neurodivergence, about how I am not, like I think differently, I learn differently, I move differently, and it helps me mother better when I'm not looking at my children as the other, and I'm acknowledging, my own journey. But that takes a lot of honesty, especially in the early years, because that's, I think, what causes depression. They said mental health professionals will say that depression is about reconciling your past, and anxiety is about managing your expectations of the future. So when we have these prevalence of depression, it's obvious to me that it's because we have so much unreconciled pasts. And when you're birthing, and when you're a mother, and when you have children, you have to confront that, or it is in your best interest to confront that. And if you don't confront that, your bloodline will suffer. And I'm saying that dramatically, and I mean that. Like, we set the pace for generations in front of us. I look at my relationship with my own mother and all the things that we have to now remother ourselves. Having lost my father, may his soul rest in peace, is that experience becomes so important, because how she mothers, how I mother, is going to set the pace for our bloodline for at least 7 to 14 generations, as some people would believe. So, I said a lot about autism, but I also try to tie in mothering. I'll say this about my birth experience. I had beautiful birth experiences because, again, I'm a super organizer, and I brought that into the process. I had a doula, I had a midwife. I started out with the OBGYN and made a decision very quickly to switch to the natural birth. My oldest is 13 years ago, 14 years ago. This was the time when Ricky Lake was making this documentary about, just again, the politics of birthing. This is even before Serena Williams and all the numbers we're seeing now about, Black women being disproportionately impacted by the healthcare system. And so that's why maternal death rates are so high. That's why our postpartum needs are highly unmet. And even postpartum, I think of it as perinatal, because it's a holistic experience. There is no, once you're pregnant, whether you birth, you are going to have a post-birth experience, right? Whether you effectively have the child or something happens along the way, you are always going to have a post-birth experience, because nothing is going to take away that from your body. You are always going to have that as part of your physiology, right? Which is why it's very important to make that decision with the most consciousness. And so part of me making that conscious shift, and I'm not recommending, I work with doctors, I love doctors, but I think that when it comes to birthing, there is a unique benefit of people who are centered in the actual mother experience. And that's why doulas and midwives have this very, very important value right now. I consciously made a decision to go that route. I have no regrets. I didn't do epidural. I didn't, I didn't birth at home. I birthed it at a birth center. The first birth I had to birth in a hospital, because my blood pressure was so high. My body was, I was going through so much. I was going through so many emotional things, having, had, early life experiences that were coming up, that were impacting how I was doing. So my blood pressure was really high during my first birth. My second birth, I was able to have a natural birth in a birth center. Both births were natural. Both births were delivered by midwives, and I had doulas present. The difference being who gets to be in the environment and how you get to control the environment. I was so lucky. For anyone who's in the doula world will know, and in the DMV area will know the name Claudia Booker. I was so fortunate to have Claudia Booker as my doula at the time. She was still trying to be a midwife. She passed away in 2020, but she was a lawyer a judge who became committed to the birth process, and first started her journey as a doula and eventually became a midwife. In some ways, I feel like, my life is going to go down that path as well. And I had her literally manage. So think of a doula as your producer, right? A good birth doula and a good postpartum doula is somebody who's tuned into the experience and can help you shape it in the way that you have already kind of preemptively decided what you wanted it to be, however you wanted it to be. You can have a doula and your OBGYN. You don't have to have doula or midwife. They're not a package deal. And many hospitals are investing in doulas now.
What does doula stand for?
Doula is an ancient Greek word that literally means servant, right? You are in service.
I felt like I was like the service and like servitude. Like, that's what doula sounds like to me. Okay,
Some
go
will
ahead.
say slave. Some will say a slave, right? Like, but as a Black person, I think of it in a. It's not like you are an you are an unpaid laborer,
an indentured servant.
Yeah,
you're
not going through a tortured experience to be of service. You're doing this intentionally, and you're doing this because you understand the monumental importance of this experience that is really, it's godly, right? I mean, a doula is also in servitude the way that a priest is in servitude, right? Like, you serve because there is nothing higher than this person that is bringing life. No life comes without, even Jesus came through a woman. Do you know what I mean? So the woman and the mother is such a critical part, and that experience is great. But not to get, so this, I was one to the process early when I was pregnant with my first son, and again, no regrets. And part of what the doula helps you do, what a good doula does, what Claudia Booker kind of set the bar high for me, was that doula is your producer. Not only helps you manage your medical experience and like your awareness to what's happening to you medically, and there's a lot of things happening to you medically, and we trust our medical professionals to support that. But what the doula helps you do is process that and process what that means. And a good doula will also help you deal with your emotions, so you're not shocked when you are hormonally wired all over the place in that postpartum experience, where you're then kind of lifted off to somebody like me who's like, hey, the party has really just got started. You thought the party was during the birth? The party is not during the birth. The party is in the aftermath, whatever that aftermath may be, whether it was a miscarriage, unfortunately, whether it was an abortion that happens, whether it was a stillbirth, or now you have this new baby, and whatever that new baby comes out. A postpartum doula is critical to helping one reconcile and produce that next chapter, whatever it may be. And I was fortunate enough to be surrounded in community of people that helped me understand not just the experience of birthing, but the politics of mothering. So, yeah.
That's beautifully said, my dear. Thank you so very much. And I appreciate you for bringing this information for people who don't know, who are actually getting ready to give birth. There is a way for you to mitigate against these issues that arise after birth, even during birth or even before birth. Okay, so this is a beautiful podcast for us to have an avenue to tell people about these things that they probably don't know. The thing about learning and being smart and getting knowledge is that we tend to forget where we came from. the ignorance that we were wallowing within and swimming in. And when we finally alight off the ladder and we dry ourselves off in our enlightened state, we look back upon people and like, you know nothing. And we fail to recognize our own blindness, that those people cannot see, and we are here shining light on them and calling them blind. Well, they can't see it in the first place. So I'm very glad we have an opportunity like this that we can share our minds, share our thoughts, share our knowledge, and educate people in vastly entertaining ways that kind of makes them revel in our knowledge. I'm very glad about that. Lisa, I always also want to bring this back to you. There's something that she touched on about trauma. Dr. Oru talked about trauma and how these internal pains and all these internal injuries and all these internal things, even our environment, affect our, not just our body, but our genome. And then we pass those things on to our children and their children's children. So I want you to touch on if there's anything you know about generational trauma. If there's anything, my idea of generational trauma, I can give you an example. There was a study that was done in the Netherlands. Netherlands in Europe, they did a study in Norway with the soldiers at the point during World War II. So 1942, 1945, they got the information from all the soldiers because they are very, very anal about getting, for lack of better word, getting the soldiers' information, who registered, who stayed in, what they did, and they monitored them for 50 years. And what happened was that they found out that yes, those people that were in the war suffered some type of problems, this type of post-traumatic stress, the other. Some of them gave birth to children after that, and their children were born with schizophrenia, higher levels of schizophrenia, higher level of diabetes, higher level of hypertension, higher level of dissociations and fear and anxiety, and it showed up in the next generation as well. So there was this link between direct war for a generation and indirect suffering in the next generation and the generation afterwards. And so that's why I want to see if you know anything or two about this generational trauma. You can unmute yourself and let us know. And then Dr. Oru, I'll give her a few seconds to tell us what she also knows about generational trauma. I love this podcast. I'm moving.
So yeah, I know that generational trauma is a thing, and I know that if you when you're carrying children, it can affect you. One thing I would say during my pregnancy, I had my mom around me honestly every day, and my mom, obviously being a Christian woman, very spiritual, she taught me the spiritual aspect of childbirth and the spiritual aspect of carrying a child. And she was very she informed me in on the idea of be careful of what I took in, be careful of who I brought around me, be careful of the energy I even entertained, because all of that affected the child in your womb. So I saw that aspect of it, and because I saw that aspect of it, I was very careful with how I what's so interesting about my twins? This is random, but I have triplets, but two of them are identical. And
That's the best. Yeah, very
when
unique.
one when one cries, the other one will cry, even though there's nothing wrong with the other one.
The
They
twins.
think they're twins. It doesn't matter. If one is upset, the other one automatically is upset too. Nothing is wrong with them. Like that. So
They are
that's
in
what's happening
sync.
now.
They are in the same wavelength.
But yeah, that's how I learned about the whole generational trauma and how you can transfer things to your children, even unknowingly.
All right, that's a beautiful way to say it. Thank you so much for that, for sharing that part of you, and you were telling us about the way that the children are similar and dissimilar. They were born together. You expect that maybe three of them look alike, but no, two look alike, one is different. And I'm guessing David is the one that looks the most different from Dallas and
Yes,
Daniel.
yes, yes.
Yes, that's true. And David is the first, correct?
Yeah, yes, he is.
So the way, if I understand your birth journey correctly, you
Hmm.
had one baby
Hmm.
or one fetus coming in, get matured, got fertilized, and it was getting implanted. And then here comes two more, one more egg that splits into two, because that's how you have the identical twins, right? And then joins up, and now you have three in the uterus.
So for me, when my first ultrasound, they told me I was having twins because they saw two sacks. You know.
Uh,
So then my second ultrasound, they told me I saw I was having triplets because the one in the two sacs that we're seeing, one sac split into two, I guess eggs or two, whatever, and then so then that's how they became spontaneous triplets. That's what they call
Wow.
them. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I want to use this opportunity to recognize our watchers and our audience, those that are watching us. We are currently live with 3 people who are watching us from all over the world. And on Twitch, we have way more people that are watching us as well. So I want to appreciate them for watching us for this long. We are almost an hour and 30 minutes into this podcast. It's very, very intriguing. I've not had one that's full of such information like this in a long time. But I really appreciate you guys for joining us and sharing your knowledge and information, making this podcast really, really interesting and engaging. But thank you for that sharing of generational trauma. Please go ahead and Dr. Oru, can you tell us a little bit about generational trauma from your own perspective?
Well, I mean, you brought up that magic word. It's epigenetics, right? The epigenome theory, it's groundbreaking. And I believe the first time I heard about it was when I was a grad student at Howard University. And it was told to me, even though I have not really gotten the true truth of this, but that the person that kind of started it, initiated, that kind of broke ground on this study was a Black woman, and that she was a Howard woman. And I don't know that for a fact, but I definitely, I haven't had
Yeah, I
time to
subscribe to
research.
that.
You subscribe to that too. So I really need to be able to say her name. We should be able to honor that this came out of that knowledge. I'm of no surprise to me, because again, I will say this: my dissertation was on the rape crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but it was in advancing a theory of matriarchy. And matriarchy is a concept that I learned reading the works of an anthropologist, an Igbo woman. Her name is Ife Amadume. And the way she explains it is that part of why sub-Saharan African societies, or particularly she looked at Igbo society, but not just Igbo society, were so hyper-democratic, was because of the value we ascribed to motherhood and mothering. And when I finished, almost done. Okay. You hear it live.
I hear it live. This is the beauty of
making his demand.
Yes, look, I've taken their mama away for the past almost an hour. They are like, hey, what's going on, man? Things have to happen, mom.
So, but the
basic,
just to kind of keep it quick and short, is that rooted in that concept of matriarchy is the realization that, or the understanding, the ideological understanding that the mother is central to all of society, right? That mother is central to how we make decisions. This is why inheritances in most matriarchal societies were passed down through the mother. I want to tie that into this generational mapping. And I don't necessarily believe in generational curses. Even, I'm a Christian, and I know we're obsessed with generational curses. I do think we have generational experiences, and they end up showing up either as traumas or as gifts. There are things generationally that we pass down that become gifts. Like, why can't, you have you have a family where you have 3 generations of doctors. How does that happen? It doesn't happen by luck. It happens because there is some kind of mapping that is passed down. The Black woman who's ascribed to epigenetics, I think, is also kind of a little bit aware of the weight of why matriarchy was the way to go in our ancient times, is because we realize that in utero, and it's not just the mother, by the way. I think epigenetics also is attributes of the father. And how does the father contribute to this? What he's given into when he's given the sperm, that comes with historic knowledge. That comes with all of him and all that he went through. So both parties, it's not just on the mother to be healthy and to keep the environment pure, right? Except that his job is done at the time of conception. So choose your mate carefully, right? Choose your mate well. And I say that without judgment, as a single mother, having now in retrospect, having to make, I say that very clearly. I'm very honest in my communication, because why not? Right? That it's that choose your mate carefully, choose your mate intentionally, because again, they are going to contribute through their genetic composition to the sperm. But then the mother's contribution is not just through her DNA, it's also through her experience in the birthing process. As you said, Lisa, were you stressed? Right? What are the stress factors? When we look at somebody as highly successful as Serena Williams, having terrible birth experience, almost costing her life. We can't just attribute that to, failures of the healthcare system. I would love to know, what were those 9 months like? Those stress factors were not set at birth. Those stress factors that lead to these high maternal rates are set throughout our entire birthing experience. And of course, we don't live in a world that recognizes that did what the ancient Igbos did, which is make that experience as sacred as possible, to make all social decisions kind of be obsessively around this one moment, right? And then that everything happens. We didn't have, ultrasounds and all this pre-knowledge. It was really about prayer, and it was really about just honoring that this person is bringing new life, and this new life is going to impact everything in terms of social function. Epigenetics only gives us another way of understanding that very basic thing, right? That how we experience, how we create life impacts how we experience life. And so I don't look at it from a curse, because I don't think that just because one comes in or has bad experiences, or may have a bad birthing experience, or may have all these post-perinatal conditions that happen, that becomes, that sets your faith, because the environment always changes throughout life, right? And so I don't look at any of these things as like, I don't look at it fatally. I'm very optimistic. No matter what I'm confronted with, no matter what the next person is confronted with, whatever mother or family that I'm working with, whatever diagnosis or prognosis that they have, that they experiences, people who birth when they have cancer, people who birth when they have different conditions, no matter what is happening, you can reorganize your DNA. You can reorganize those trauma infects. You can reprogram. But you are coming in with a program. And I think the sooner we acknowledge that we are programmed, and that program has impact for generations, if we don't get in front of it and reset and remap and refocus and clean our environment and clean our minds and clean our bodies and focus on our relationships, that these are not just hocus pocus things. These are things that determine how this world is going to go. So.
Thank you so much for that. I had to write that down because that's information. It actually, one thing I like about this show is I like to connect previous episodes and things together. And this one is actually connecting to something in the future, not from the past. So my whole theme around the Flight on the Wall podcast is technically kind of insect themed. So if you go on the topics, you'll see like wings unfurled, chrysalis breaking out, things like that. So like I kind of hint in the topics like it's kind of insect themed, and it kind of lent me towards storage and how you have like bees can store honey and they can store data in their honey, and how they can dance and pass on information and their DNAs and things like that. And you mentioned DNA storage and DNA, you didn't say DNA storage, you mentioned passing on information through our DNA. And then another thing you mentioned was fixing our DNA, realigning it, reconstructing it, right? Like basically trying to arrange that we can remove those traumas from our DNA and keep only the good ones. And that led me to a rabbit hole where I was researching about a couple weeks ago on fixing our DNA. Have you heard of cymatic resonance?
No, I get the feeling I have a lot to learn from you, but no. Say that word again. I don't want to forget it.
Cymatic resonance. It has to do with sound and resonation.
Oh, okay.
So have you been in a church or in a place where people are singing, and at the point you can hear like all of them kind of sing at the same tone, where it goes like, oh, Jesus, oh, and
Yes.
everybody's.
My dad was a choir master, by the way. My
So
dad
you
was an
know what I'm
organist
talking
in church,
about?
so
Yes.
church music was. I grew up in the music of church.
The music of church. So there's this octave that people will hit that everybody's kind of resonating at the same octave, and the sound of the music changes. Where everybody, if you hear like boys choir sing, or when men are singing in like all these Zulu songs or ancient African song, there is this resonation of voices and depth within their ways of sound, and it kind of works in a good way to pull our DNAs together. And there's this study that somebody is actually working on right now. I think he's working with it with Terrence Howard. Yes, with Terrence Howard, who the inventor of the, what do you call it again? The 1-3 hip clip. I think it's a new drone that he
Terrence
made
Howard,
for the military.
the actor.
Yes, Terrence Howard. He's the actor and now the scientist guy that's trying to break a paradigm. I don't know if you heard what he was. Yeah. So he, according to him, if what he's saying is correct, he's had a revelation that our understanding of the universe is flawed at its fundamental level. According to him, he says that our understanding of mathematics is kind of wrong, and because of the foundation is wrong, everything that we've built on that is kind of skewered towards incorrect or not perfect. So he points out that why is it that we can say 1 + 1 is 2, but when we say 1 × 1, it's not 2, it's 1. What happens to the other one? That's his starting process. But from that premise, he came up with a new way to have a drone. A way, you know how drones fly? They take off, they go forward, they go back, they go left, they go right. Yes, his drone can do all of that and maintain its orientation in time and space.
Wow.
So the military is working on it with him now. Anyways, but
Wow.
what I'm trying to get at is the second thing which he's working on, which is the DNA reconstitution, which is like fixing your DNA with music and sound, and like getting rid of all the trauma of ancient times that has built up over time. It's hard, it's difficult to fix, but it's something that I want to get into in a future episode, talking about DNA storage and how DNA can actually hold information. And that also leads to another tangent where we can have hard drives. Like we have something like this, right? Let me show you. As at 2024, it's 256 gigabytes. It's 256 gigabytes, what do you call it? Storage can be in the size of a pin, right? So small. Back in the day, 512 megabytes, it was like the size of a room, right?
Right, exactly.
So this is 256 gigabytes, and I just got from Amazon, and this is not even their best type. They have ones that are smaller as a terabyte. So I'm like, we've been shrinking information. What if back in the day, somebody learned how to shrink information and shrank it into our DNA? Now, walk with me here. This is where it goes into pseudoscience somehow, and at the same time religious. Is that, factually speaking, that is how DNA works, right? Gets information from the environment, condenses it into something that can use to recreate something else, and then pass it on to the other generations, right?
Yeah. So I want to say a couple of things before you go. Like you're speaking my language. So I don't know if you've heard of a book called. You should read a book called The Pale Fox.
The Pale Fox.
Oh, The Pale Fox. If you haven't, I forget. I have a copy of it, and I don't want to get up and start looking for it. But it's called The Pale Fox, and it really speaks on. It's this white man who is documenting the Dogon people of Mali.
The Dogons, I know the Dogons.
Yeah. So the Pale Fox, when you say that, what did the ancients know, right? What you mean? So and we still don't know how to build the pyramids, right? And but they knew, so that when you're saying that they're able to take big knowledge, they literally took knowledge of the cosmos, right? That's what the Dogon were known for. Like they had predictive analytics based on just
speaking my language right now,
understanding the stars. And we haven't even caught up to all that they knew. But all that geeky stuff, you can check out The Pale Fox. and all that goes into that. But the part about the music I think you'll find interesting is that I did my master's thesis on documenting the war songs of Biafra, right?
Whoa.
And part of, again, like I said, my dad being, music was always part of my life, and he was a Biafran soldier. He fought in the Biafran War, and of course that kind of shapes everything, right? That is generational trauma, however we unpack it. Even when we look at the current state of Nigeria and just the continuous aspirations for that is set not just by history, but by our DNA, right? Like, but part of what I was arguing in my thesis there around those war songs, I got to work with a musicologist, Johnston and Joku. He was at Western Kentucky University, and so he helped me kind of understand the songs, how they were used during the war, and how they were used for healing, and how they mitigate trauma. And so, like, my theory at that time, my dissertation theory was on matriarchy. My master's theory was on place of memory, right? And that's actually what led me to matriarchy. Was like, when we is a French theory called Léo de Mémoire. So music, right? Music carries in it. I mean, first of all, you have to your vocal cords are not yours alone. They are your ancestors, right? Like, how we speak, it's such an amazing thing when you look at people who are my children's grandmother. She's an African American woman. She's a professor. Shout out to Jacqueline Rahman. She's a professor at Miami University in Ohio. She's a linguist, and she's very committed to, like, looking at how Ebonics evolves out of African language patterns. So now you take that with music, and it's like our voices. I mean, the voice that I have belong to my grandmothers, belong to my grandfathers. And when you sing, when you emote, they can heal you because you are actually tuning into things so deep in you, things so much before you. And when my big assertion from that is that those war songs that I grew up, I mean, I realized later that not everybody grew up learning the Biafran songs, but I learned those Biafran songs because my dad was a
dad was in the boys' company, and he sang some songs, but I don't know all of them. But yes,
I don't know them, but I know that I went on, I studied, but, like, I'm saying that those really help with keeping the emotional memory of liberation. And I've projected that what the Igbos were aspiring for is not different from what so many people who are seeking liberation, and how that makes me sympathetic, how that makes me, as a politically minded person, understand better. And it started with music, at least for me, right? And music, your voice before you sing, as you talk, even if you can't talk, your voice there. And we could talk about the spirituality of different disabilities, and when we have ability or inability to do something, what that's giving you as your life lesson. I love all of that, which is why I start with the birthing experience. But music is deep. So as you go down the rabbit hole with that, keep in mind that it's very much linked to this genetic composition. Nothing we do with our sound, particularly with our voice, is yours alone. It belongs to your ancestors.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this show. This has been greatly impactful beyond all reasonable doubts in information dump and knowledge. I cannot lie. I need to do this more often with both of you, especially. You will know what your stuff, and you know what you're talking about. So please, I would love to have this podcast again, maybe later today, or maybe even next weekend. We can do it again. It's up to you, or however time we show. But honestly, this has been greatly impactful to me and to everyone who has listened. I'm sure, like, I'm getting text messages saying this educational stuff is awesome. Like, it's literally on the board right there. Like, the educational stuff, kudos. Keep it up, Eddy. I'm just getting, like, likes and this thing from you guys just sharing your information. Like, she knows what she's talking about. That's what they're saying over there. But I can only shout too much because it's you guys that are making it possible. All I did is just create the topic of what is breath. Ladies and gentlemen, so I would like to use this as an intermission stroke pause of this we'll call it a part 1. How about that? We can come back. Lisa, do you agree? Are you still on the line? Lisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. That's fine.
Yes. If there's anything you want to share, let's use this opportunity to share your social medias, share how they can reach you guys. If there's something you want to bring forward to the environment, because I'm using this opportunity to launch that podcast with me and Dr. Oru. We're going to be talking about micro women. How do you say micro women?
Market Women Chronicles. So we're chronicling the story of, the marketplace. And, at the center, they say, or Ifya Madume in her understanding of matriarchy, she says that, the father is the head of the family in the ancient Igbo understanding, but the mother was always the head of the household, which is why it was the mother that really where you inherited your land, your house, your home. And if money is if cash is king, then land is queen, and we're just gonna go from there, take it from there.
Okay, awesome. Could you please tell us about your social medias where people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so like I said, I do the Wednesday lives. I do a Wednesday live stream on Instagram. I come there sometime between noon and 4, depending on the day. So you can always catch me at Dr. Chiborn Free. So you see that's my name there. I'm on all social outlets. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. I just started a TikTok. I haven't actually done TikTok, so I don't really know this technology, which is why we are now going to be best friends.
That's why I'm here. Allow me to help you.
That's why you're here.
That's where I come in. Okay, I'll help you guys create your social media awareness, and then you just use me as a conduit to the world. I'll take that.
Yeah, so but you can find me Dr. Chiborn Free in all outlets. Yeah.
Thank you kindly. How about you, Lisa? How can people find you? Is there anything that you want people to know about? Is there anything that you find interesting? Let us know.
Not really. I guess but I guess my Instagram is ada_mbc. I don't really do too much on there, but yeah, that's about it. I don't use social media.
You should start a book. If you're not going to do social media, you can start a book or a blog or a vlog talking about what it is, your experience with triplets. That is going to be beyond anybody's experience, because you are born in a position where you have the technology that you can spread to massive amount of people. So this is the first of its kind. So I think it would be interesting for you to do something like that. I can help you start it as well, the same way I'm helping Dr. Oru start her podcast. So just let me know. We'll work on that. Okay. All right, perfect. Use this opportunity. Is there anything else? A shout out to the audience. We have people that are watching us. Some people have watched us. Some of them have tuned out now because they know we're coming to an end. It's usually 10 till 12 that we host the program, and those people that are coming, they come in bright and early. They listen in, and they all the way. As soon as they're ready to go, they're out. So I want to use this opportunity to say thank you to each and every one of them for joining us. Thank you to my guests for joining me. This has been amazing. Without beyond all reasonable doubt, I have absolutely loved every moment of it. Please, this is an opportunity for you guys to do the same. Oh, who's calling me? You've reached Eddy. Good morning. You are live. Exactly. They don't want to be live. So please go ahead, Dr. Oru. Is there anything you want to shout out to the audience? Tell them thank you for.
No, thank you. I mean, just again, thank you. Stay tuned. I hope you follow me, especially on Instagram if you find me, and lots of content coming down the pipe. So I also have a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit organization, and so we do things in the community. And so anybody that's in the DMV, please stay in touch and stay connected.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. Anything about you have a non-government organization too?
No, but thank you. Thank you for having me.
I need a woman.
Thank you all so much for being on the show. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm going to turn off the live now, and then we'll go. All right, let's see. Yep. Let's set an outro video. How about that? We'll do a countdown, and this is set an outro. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. Once again, I really appreciate it. Yes. Once again, my name is the Prince, Dr. Chukwuemeka Edward Atede. But your friends, my friends, they call me Eddy4Shot's, and I was live with
Lisa. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go on at the time. Choose person. Chi, Lisa, which one? Okay, C comes first. Go ahead, Chi.
All right, Dr. Chiborn Free, Choma
All
Oru.
right.
And Lisa
Awesome.
Kara.
Thank you so very much for joining me once again. I really appreciate it. Have a beautiful rest of your day.